What's going on, guys? Sam Williams, I'm here back with another topic for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed my entire episode series I've been doing. But now, before we get to the actual best, let's get into the 10 episodes I think are the absolute worst. Again, what people consider the absolute worst Survivor is definitely going to be very subjective, but this is just my personal opinion. I did try not to go for the more like personal episodes of Survivor. There definitely will be a few that will make this list, but I still hope you're enjoying the list. Now, let me know which episodes of Survivor you think to be terrible down below in the comment section. And it comes out, we're going to get to my overall top 20 best, so stay tuned there. So, in the approach, let's get into what I think all the absolute bottom of the barrel when it comes to Survivor. Now, again, this is my personal opinion, but you're kicking off the list at number 10. We have You Started, You're Finishing. Episode 12 of Survivor Nicaragua. It's probably the only one I actually make the list, actually, because Nicaragua was actually a good season. There are definitely a lot of choices I could choose from to be on the West list. But I just chose the one that I believe is like the Ben Reboot episode. And not just the boost is pretty obvious from the get go, obviously. It's just not like a fun watch, not entertaining, not much intrigue, not much really going on throughout this episode, honestly. And I mean, from character moments or only much of anything, or just. Yeah, that's just my thoughts on this episode. And, again, you didn't put the double quick episode. I found it to be a little more entertaining, honestly, but yeah, this one's just a snooze fest. Don't really have much about it. Probably one of the more forgettable episodes of the show. And now at number 9. Now, it's probably there actually only a lot of episodes on this list that actually, what had those like personal aspects that really bring it down. Obviously, and again, try not to put too much shows on this list, honestly. Some of them actually end up being in the element. We'll probably talk about the missions. But for starters, I'm not going to talk about the one Ghana is in, obviously, because, that's too. When we talk about honestly, the episode's not the worst episode of Thailand, honestly. Honestly, that's definitely one of the worst moments, but not one of the worst episodes, if that makes any sense. But I'm then going to talk about one of them here, and that is Persona Non Grata, episode 25 of the sorry, Persona Non Grata, episode 5 of 26. Basically, the Brandon Hands episode. Where Barry has basically just proved he's not mentally prepared survivor at all, much of anything. And he basically, after dealing with the frustrations of Philip, I mean, to be fair, I think anyone would be frustrated with dealing with Philip. But he goes a little too far, obviously, like being said, I'll give you a reason to vote me out. And the whole Mirror Challenge thing is one of the most uncomfortable moments in Survivor history. And obviously not doing it, but it was just so like, you just, just thinking about it. But yeah, of course there's gonna be a list. Again, like I said, surprisingly not a lot of personal episodes, obviously, but there will definitely be possibly at least one or two more to me list. But yeah, this is definitely not for one for sure. And now at number 8 and number 7, we get to two episodes from my least favorite season of Survivor, One World. No, yeah, it's probably the actually number 8 and number 7, actually, honestly, but. Well, man, those episodes are basically episode 5, A Bunch of Idiots, and episode 6, Thanks for the Souvenir, with 5 being number 8, and then 6 being number 7. And then, honestly, to be honest, it's really Alicia Colton and why basically this episode's on this list, obviously. I could pick a lot of episodes more world to make it on here, honestly, and Jane London probably should have, honestly, but I'm seeing how they add towards this episode and how they drew Christina, especially, and certain players, and even the charm castles aren't really the most interesting, and all the character moments aren't really interesting either. I mean, episode 6 ends with evacuation when Colton decides to evacuate, honestly, and when you figure they kind of faked it back and forth with some water. Yeah. I don't know. I did not realize how terrible Alicia was on this season until we watched One World, and like, yeesh, she really drew Christina pretty terribly here. You really, despite Christina not being good about herself, honestly, you really do feel bad for her for a majority of the season. Yeah, they're just not fun episodes, and the thing with Colt and Alicia and how they treat Christina, and then how their actions and certain portions and all that stuff, and a lot of stuff they say. Yeah, theoretically, they put these episodes on the list. And now we get to another personal episode, number 6. And one, I didn't realize how bad it actually was until I rewatched this season. And that is Outrage, episode 6 of All Stars. Again, All Stars, I think we all can agree, is one of the seasons that definitely has gotten worse over time, or at least it's aged worse over time. Like, it was only all back between this season and Amazon as seasons that probably be the worst. But Amazon is at least more hilarious because it's more just guys just drooling over girls and a lot of baiting scenes and all that stuff. But yeah, also with the whole like personal aspect and of course people not really having much fun around here, considering this was the first true returning player season, and there were a lot more like personal details that happen between certain players and everything. Like, yeah, I don't think any mention why stuff is on the source. Like, some of that I feel like it should be a lot lower, if I'm being honest. But some of this really just bored me or just more frustrating. But of course, the whole Stu situation is just pretty frustrating, especially how they treated it here, honestly. And they go back where we never know if you're supposed to feel bad for Stu or we're supposed to laugh at her for her reaction. Like, I'm not sure that was supposed to be something, honestly, but it gets very muddled and confusing. And considering we don't get an actual vote on this episode either, like, just her quitting and her flip out just again, so uncomfortable and so not fun to watch. Yeah, I don't think any of her worst episodes on this list. And now at number number 5 and number 4, we actually got 2 episodes from Smile 41. And I think the reason both these episodes on the list is really because of the twist, honestly. Like, they're not the worst episodes, honestly. I feel like they really should be this long, honestly. But it's really just the twist they end up putting on these episodes that really sink it down. And if you've seen the twist, honestly, you know which one I'm talking about. With number 5 being Do or Die. Again, what were they thinking? This might be the worst twist in Survivor history. And like, this season has 2 twists that probably I'll put my top 5, top 3 worst twists ever. Of course, Do or Die basically being, either the vote or someone's not interesting. Rihanna ended up getting the vote anyway, so it wasn't an interesting vote anyways. Flying again, it don't have to basically kind of penalize you for competing in the challenge. It's kind of what you need to say. And then basically, they're kind of forced to like doing coin flip, or if you get wrong, or if you get this and wrong. I don't remember the details honestly, but if you get like a certain amount wrong or this and wrong, you basically just get eliminated just like that. But yeah, and then again on 42, even wasn't that as egregious, and thankfully, before we got 550, we sampled much better, mostly because come on, they weren't actually gonna do that. But we'll get to that one to about 550. And excuse me. And 4 is basically Ready to Play Like a Lion, which is episode 6. Basically, a 2-part episode that really did not need to be a 2-parter. I mean, that aspect alone pushes the episode on the list, obviously, where it's just boring, not that interesting anyways, and then Eric ends up, and of course the whole Murgatory thing, which is like, I never liked that at all either. And then Outlast Twist, which is honestly like the most easiest decision ever. Like, I can't imagine anybody not trying to actually break Hourglass and win immunity. And how many even Jeff honestly has a brain and actually, that's not pretty mildly, but you know what I'm saying. I feel like I probably shouldn't say that. I hope no one takes that out of context, but basically, at least Jeff did realize that, honestly, and I'm glad after 42 we are not seeing these twists, honestly. But yeah, these times rough. Rough. And now we get to the top 3, honestly, and at number 3, we actually get an episode of Thailand. It's probably the only episode from Thailand to actually make the list, honestly, which even I was surprised, actually, that only one episode from Thailand actually made the episode. This problem is the worst US season of Survivor, for sure. And generally, but I thought it just made more sense, honestly. Well, we've had a little more diversity to actually, only have one episode here. But, this was probably going to be the definitive episode anyways, honestly, because, again, yeah, definitely ready to an episode with 10 last would happen, but even then, the episode itself's not the worst aside from that. But for me, I'm gonna go with basically the last episode before the merge, Sleeping with the Enemy. I totally forgot how much of a snooze this episode is until I rewatched it. Basically, the episode before the merge was part of that famous switch. But I find that the episode previously is the best episode of Thailand, and the episode afterwards is the worst episode. Where it's like, when Street Fighter beats lost another challenge again, you're like, do I really care about these people? I don't care how emotional, like, they're trying to make like sad and emotional, but like, I don't care. And the person about Aaron is probably one of the most underrated players ever. Like, I totally forgot how underrated Aaron is actually started to watch the season. And the content they're just showing you just like, do we really need to show this? If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, definitely a lot of stuff I actually could have made the actual list, honestly. But I decided to play a fair out of my diversity and had at least only one episode of 10 on the list, and then, but this was going to be the one that's going to be the worst. And then number two, we get to probably one of the most underwhelming, pointless episodes in the show's history. And again, this episode I didn't really think that bad, but again, after rewatching this season, I'm like, eh. And that is With Me or Not With Me, episode 13 of Star Calrone. Yeah, I'm surprised this episode made it high as well. Most because it's just a very pointless episode in the grand scheme of Survivor, especially on the season itself. Most because it ends with another evacuation. I know still have a couple episodes that you ran as well, but this is one where it's like, it's just a very boring episode all the way through. It's just, that's kind of worse. It's just pretty boring, and it's fortunate because obviously Count Wrong is a fantastic season. But this is definition of a bad episode within a good season, because like I said, it was a pretty much a snooze, and again with Joel based in eating too much wing challenge, eating too much of a award. Honestly, end up having some weird bowel movements where they show you about that on the show, and then he just leaves. That's it. I mean, it does say Michelle actually. Honestly, she probably working on burnout. That didn't happen, but yeah, it's kind of snooze fest. But before we get to the absolute bomb of the barrel worst episode, in my opinion, of all Survivor, let's get into the honorable mentions. The episodes I definitely did not like at all. They just did not make the actual list. And those episodes are To Be Lunchbox, Episode 7 of Survivor Karamoan. Just a very pointless episode. Just a boring episode. Very unful one at that. Don't Bite the Hands That Feeds You, Episode 5 of Allen the Idols. Again, just another very boring episode. I'm a Wolf Baby, Episode 5 of Survivor 49. Again, 49 in the season, I feel as though it's kind of going to get worse, honestly, the more I think about it. And again, it's not a bad, it's not like a, bad thing happens. It's just a pretty boring episode. So I don't have much to say about these ones, honestly. Then we got Cutthroat and episode 9 of South Pacific and Ticket Time Bomb. Episode 13 steps. Again, I'm surprised that those episodes actually didn't make the actual list because I don't like this season. But again, pretty much just Cutthroat being just, not the one of those like the blue episodes that just obviously gonna happen. And Ticket Time Bomb basically just, bring the hands. Don't really mention anymore. Then we have Bryce Ward's episode 10 of Dungeon Island, which seen the episode, you know what I mean, but it's just more boring than anything. I think I keep saying that, but yeah. Then we have Bring the Popcorn, which is episode 10 of World Support. Basically, the episode World basically embraced Shireen. Enough said. Then we have What Happens on Exile Stays on Exile, episode 6, which is basically the Jeff Bonner out in Zeke moment, which I'm actually surprised did actually not make the actual list. Honestly, this probably will be number 11, honestly, but the episode wasn't like too bad before that moment, honestly. Like, it's not the worst episode, but it's that moment that really does elevate it to being one of the worst episodes. But for the fact that it wasn't that bad, wasn't like too bad before then, does end up not making it on the list. And then we have Love Mini, Trust Few, Durant to None, episode 5 of Fiji. A snooze of a pretty much episode. Again, sometimes I just don't have much to say because there's not much to point out. And the last one I mentioned, we have Why Aren't You Swimming, episode 8 of Cook Islands, which is basically the Jessica Biel episode. Do you guys even remember this episode? It's probably the most forgettable episode of all time. And now, we get, it's freaking remade to the Verge, episode 8 of Island Idols. Yeah, I'm not going to offer any more suspense on that. I'm pretty sure for that moment, because it's very new, this episode was going to be number 1, because it's widely considered to be the worst episode in all of Survivor. For good reason. I don't think I really fully hate it, honestly, when I watched it live, honestly. If you actually watch my review, honestly, when I thought I did think it was Q-Bass 5 episode moment, but after rewatching Island Idols, this is just the definition of a moment that's so heinous, so terrible, so awful, so just incredibly, godly frustrating that it single-handedly ruined this season. And in spite of episode 5, the season was actually pretty solid before the launch. It does have despite episode 5, which the all mentions, it has a pretty solid pre-merge. Round has it overall and honestly it still has a pretty good cast in general, honestly, and that's very concept as well. The pre-merge actually was pretty satisfactory at the last episode, honestly, which I think also made which I think didn't, if I remember correctly, did make the mentions of my 33 for 40 video. But again, how am I gonna say what happens? Honestly, you guys know this. You guys know what happens here. Dance below, how they handle that situation, how they treated Kelly, and lesbian Elizabeth using that situation to basically get rid of her. And then signs about information and lies, and then Shannon's trios the bad guy, and then Jamal finds advantage, which she chose to do, and then supposedly teaching a weird lesson, and Jamal's losing his vote, and then he gets unsettling his vote on next episode anyways, and that freaking make like see. I can't think I need to say it. Just this episode sucks. It's boring. It's frustrating. It's just so. I'm getting too much just thinking about it, but yeah, this episode flat out sucks. I don't think I need to speak anymore. Why is the worst episode of all time on Survivor? Probably what it always will be. Hopefully, no episode gets worse than this.